And we're live. Welcome back to the LOOPcast. Today you got Tom and Erica. The LOOPcast, of course, brought to you by The Loop, every Catholic American's favorite morning newsletter. So if you're not subscribed, go subscribe now. It's a fantastic Friday. Mm-hmm. We have a great show planned for you. Yes, my title is correct. I declared myself the vice president while Josh is in Poland. And he's probably not on the time zone thing, so he won't know. And it's a he said, she said situation. So I'm running the ship today.
No paper trail.
No paper trail. So you know what I'm saying. Speaking of paper trail, John Bolton's house was raided this morning. That name might ring some bells. And I had to go back and do research on him as well. He's got a very iconic mustache, I found. So we're going to get into the full John Bolton situation, house raid, what Trump had to say about it. It's all kind of breaking, so I did as much as I could. Yes, we're going to talk about Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel has been on every American's mind obsessively for the last day, I would say. And I did want to get a little bit beyond. Is this just the classic, oh my gosh,
exactly. Oh, the wokeification. We're going to go deeper.
I'm going to go deeper. We're going to get deeper into that. It's going to be fun. And yes, we're going to talk Hillsdale, Larry P. Arnn, who I consider as a childhood conservative, like everyone's sweet conservative grandfather, president of Hillsdale, made some comments that stirred it up a little bit.
Might have stepped in it a little bit. Larry Arnn did.
Larry P. Stirred it up a little bit. We're going to talk about it. Disappointed in no suit, Tom. No suit today.
No suits. No suits.
No suit today. Sorry, Rosie's bothering me. I'm trying to start the show. One thing I actually want to get to right up top before we even get into anything. So Pope Leo actually called for today to be a day of fasting and prayer. So I'll share the Catholic Vote article that we did on it. And I think it's just a great opportunity, especially if you're here live with us, but whenever you're listening to this. So Pope Leo has invited Catholics to observe August 22nd as a day of prayer and fasting to ask God for peace and justice in a world currently plagued by many wars and conflicts. The Church observes August 22nd as the memorial of the Queenship of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Pope Leo noted in the appeal given to his August 20th general audience, Mary is the mother of believers here on earth and is also invoked as the Queen of Peace. And while our earth continues to be wounded by wars in the Holy Land, in Ukraine, and in many other regions of the world, I invite all faithful to devote August 22nd as a day of fasting and prayer, imploring the Lord to grant us peace and justice and to dry the tears of those who will suffer as a result of ongoing armed conflicts. Mary, Queen of Peace, intercede so that peoples may find the path to peace. So if I may, I will be fasting and praying today. I've really been trying to implement specifically fasting as more part of my spiritual life, and I've found a lot of fruit out of it. So maybe give up something simple, have smaller meals today. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. Say a rosary today, pray for peace. It's a really easy, concrete way to pick up Holy Father's call. And also, I personally feel very powerless covering a lot of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And the information's tough to decipher. Everyone has different opinions. The one thing I think we should all get behind is actually living an intentional spiritual life for peace. So,
amen. Yeah, and I would encourage you too, if you have kids, to involve the whole family when the Holy Father calls for these days of prayer and fasting. It's I think it's really important to kids' spiritual life too. They obviously, like fasting strictly on Ash Wednesday or Good Friday doesn't apply to small children, but they can still be part of that and feel like they're contributing and listening to the Holy Father's words. So say, like, kids, we are not going to do dessert today as a family, or we're not going to do meat today as a family because the Pope has asked us to pray for peace. And so definitely involve your kids, involve your family in this. I do believe praying as a family is truly powerful.
No question.
And transformative. Yeah. So do it.
No question. But before we get into the Bolton news, we have a new sponsor today.
We do. Nazareth Organics. I love this one. My teens have some Nazareth organic products and they smell great. It is challenging to foster healthy and radiant skin in a world full of synthetic chemicals and toxins. So wouldn't it be nice to find nourishing ingredients straight from God's own creation? Yes, it would. Sourcing their ingredients from Israel, Italy, and the ancient Zechstein seabed. You like my German there, Tom? Nazareth Organics handcrafts facial moisturizers, sunscreens, diaper creams for your baby's bottom, and more using pure and natural ingredients. Many of their balms are tallow-based, note to RFK, coming from a local Catholic farm here in the United States. Rich in fat-soluble vitamins and fatty acids that strengthen the skin, tallow has been used for centuries in skincare. One of their best sellers is a magnesium tallow blend that relaxes muscles for peaceful sleep, safe for pregnancy and children. It makes for an awesome sleep aid for the whole family. If you need any of that, Tom, I think you might want to check that one out. The best part of this business, though, is that it is dedicated to the Holy Family of Nazareth. From website to packaging, every sustainably sourced product points back to the faith and the ultimate source of creation. So visit nazarethorganics.com. You see it up there on your screen. Use code LOOPcast for a 10% discount at checkout. Don't let dry, irritated skin keep you from finding peace. That's nazareth-organics.com, code LOOPcast. Check it out.
I mean, it's a no-brainer. And unfortunately, they didn't ask me. I thought my skin looked pretty good. They didn't ask me to read this ad.
You do look radiant, Tom. Radiant.
You know, listen. My routine involves putting soap on my face, and bam.
Well, just think how much more radiant you could be.
I mean, it's facts.
Nazareth Organics.
Look, I'd throw it on. I'd give it a shot. It sounds awesome. Thank you, Nazareth Organics. So as we get into today's show, I woke up to the news of John Bolton, his house being raided. Here's the article. The FBI raids John Bolton's home in high-profile national security probe, and then pop over from a source familiar with the AM's raid on Bolton's home. This is related to a national security investigation of Mr. Bolton that was shut down by the Biden administration for political reasons. It involves stealing classified documents and weaponizing them for political purposes. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have reopened the investigation, hence this morning's raid. Source says Bolton wasn't detained, but he's fully expected to be charged. Not only were they raiding the house, they were also raiding, I believe, an office I saw in D.C. So shot across the bow, no question. I'm sure that there's a lot of people in D.C. now kind of like, if I do have some documents, maybe I shouldn't have. We should be working with the Justice Department. Yeah. But let's go back for a second. For those who don't remember, who is John Bolton, Erica?
I had to go do a little refresh here. So for those of you who need the same refresh that I did, he has a long and storied history in the federal government. He served as the United States ambassador to the United Nations in 2005 to 2006 under George W. He was later appointed National Security Advisor, serving from 2018 to 2019 under Donald Trump. He was fired, and it got a little spicy amid what we're calling policy disagreements. It was not pretty. This was
top line, big time hawk. Dude loves war.
Big time war hawk. Yes. Yeah. In fact, Trump, I don't know if you're going to play Trump's commentary from this morning, but Trump had an amazing commentary on John Bolton as reporters were like, did you know about the raid? Did you know about the raid? And Trump's like, yeah, I mean, he was really good for me because I would send him into a room and all the other foreign nation leaders would say, oh no, we're going to get bombed. So
I got to hear
you could just.
And he's very bad at what he does, but he worked out great for me because every time he doesn't talk, he's like a very quiet person. Except on television, if he could say something bad about Trump, he'll always do that. But he really doesn't talk. He's quiet. And I'd walk into a room with him with a foreign country, and the foreign country would give me everything because they said, oh, no, they're going to get blown up because John Bolton's there. He's not a smart guy, but he could be a very unpatriotic guy. We're going to find out. I know nothing about it. I just saw it this morning. They did a raid.
Do you expect the DOJ to brief you on this?
Yeah, they'll brief me.
And for the audios, he's wearing a hat, 45-47. Trump was right about everything.
I mean, the guy is on brand at all times. Trump is just so himself. Well, back to this. So what happened in 2019? Why was Bolton fired? Again, the official reason was policy differences. Bolton had been working on a tell-all book, though, that when he was fired, Bolton rushed to get this book out. And it was called The Room Where It Happened, little shades of Hamilton going on there. You could start singing in your head if that's your vibe. No? Okay. Trump fired Bolton in September of 2019. He rushed to get this book out, which the book itself, because it was a tell-all, it required a classified information review by the Trump 45 intelligence community. This was prior to the 2020 election. So he's getting this book out as the election is kicking off. And the book depicts Trump as incompetent and unfit for the presidency. Bolton is known for telling Bret Baier that he would totally vote to not only impeach Trump, but he also would have voted to convict Trump had he been a senator at the time. It's very lengthy. It includes long quotations from conversations about highly sensitive topics in the room where it happened. And it really crosses into that sort of gray area of intel speak where they refer to things as if they're not strictly classified, they were born classified. So just not a seemly book, right? The controversy over the book and the legal ramifications involves whether Bolton, this is from National Review Online, who were kind of pro Bolton, I have to say, but
I was going to say, yeah.
at the time, I wanted
source.
to go to a source that was going to be sympathetic, since we are not as sympathetic. But whether Bolton maintained classified information, e.g. his notes, in non-approved spaces while hastily writing it, which I imagine is part of what they're looking for in this raid. And B, whether the book compromised intelligence information, including methods and sources that should never have been put out to the public.
Well, sorry, if I could,
go
we
for
need
it.
to get into this book specifically, because
the room where it happened.
Casual observer, this is treasonous. Like, he was the national security advisor, wanted to bomb everyone, pro-Iraq war, pro-regime change in Iran and North Korea. I mean, the most hardline neocon. He was gifted a grenade for his time when he was working for USAID, and he said this was a big honor, as somehow, like, dude loves war. You spend time in the most insensitive, like, wartime environments potentially in 2018, 2019, and then turn around in 2020, right after getting fired, to try to cash in on a book based on sensitive, even if you disagreed with the president, how could this not come back?
Would influence an election. Like,
totally.
This was totally part of it.
And he was pro Mar-a-Lago raid. That's even kind of beside it. But even if you're a government official and you know you're talking with world leaders on, like, world changing war potentially, and your first instinct is, I'm going to cash in on a book. He went forward with it with the publisher, which of course they're going to do this. It's going to sell numbers, and he wanted to get his name out there. And then what ended up happening was the Trump administration was suing him on it, saying it's pure fiction. You can't put this out. It's classified. And then the books ended up in a warehouse, fully printed, fully published, and then couldn't get out. But of course, journalists got a hold of it, and then it all got published online. So to me, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around enough the treasonous instinct here of, I'm going to cash in on a book deal. It's not like this is Kamala Harris saying, well, I ran a 9-day campaign. Like, you were in conversations that could actually harm Americans, potentially hurt American soldiers abroad. Pure treason. I think this is suspect number one if I were to go after people. That's why people are like, why is it Bolton? And then also, kind of smart on his part, it's a Republican. It's someone within the party, as opposed to, say, a Democrat. Then you get the partisan accusations. And I look forward to people making John Bolton somehow a hero. Like, there's going to be a student walkout for John Bolton now. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, Politico is reporting. Oh, no, sorry. It's Axios. Axios is reporting this morning was fun because the third paragraph down, I think I counted, it said, President Trump, who is known for prosecuting his political opponents, went after or denied all knowledge of the raid. And you're like, have you been anywhere for the last 5 years or 10 years? Like, ever since Trump came down that escalator? Talk about, like, victims of but anyway, I'm looking forward to the National Review Online editors giving their take, which will undoubtedly be, but this is so unseemly, and we should not use the weapons of our enemies against them, which I can see the argument. However, John Bolton, this was another part of that, the Trump lawsuits trying to get him to stop from releasing the manuscript, right? So the judge ultimately denied the request for injunctions and, like, blocking the release of the 200,000 copies that were in that warehouse. The judge denied the request, but warned Bolton and said, quote, Bolton had, quote, exposed his country to harm and himself to civil and potential criminal liability. So the very judge that said, well, the media already has a hold of this, we're going to let the warehouse release the copies. The same judge is like, dude, this is probably criminal.
Yeah.
So it's not like,
even if this specific thing, I can't do anything about it as the judge. Like, you shouldn't. Basically, this is the classic case of, like, you just shouldn't be. It's un-American. Like, I don't know any other way to say it. Like, it's un-American. It's treasonous for you to try to cash in on a book right after that. And of course, he got on all the MSNBC. I mean, all these clips are coming out about him of saying, well, we got to see the Mar-a-Lago raid through. Like, we'll see what happens. Getting in his digs at Trump and whatever. It's just like, these people frustrate me to no end, that their entire relevance is getting to bash Trump after being in this position. And it's another reminder of how different this cabinet is in my mind. Like, the cabinet that Trump put on 2016 to 2020, I'm sure he just had people in his ear saying, oh, you got to go with this because you're the president now. So you have to make more of an official. You got to have people who have experience or whatever. obviously not realizing the people with experience. It's like this was the equivalent of Dick Cheney and their cabinet during the Iraq War. He was around for this. John Bolton was fully on board
Oh,
with all
he
of
was
that.
right there. Yeah.
So needed a
Yeah,
clean
this
break.
was, I think John Bolton is like exhibit A of the first Trump administration, that Trump comes in and he's elected by the American people in this like revolutionary reaction against the Obama, the Hillary, and really the deep state, this populist revolution. But Trump's first term is so just hamstrung by the presence of these continued deep state operatives, and John Bolton being one of, like I said, exhibit A of how that first term was so weighed down. And then Trump in the 4 years, and Josh says this all the time, like maybe it was actually a really good thing that Trump lost in 2020 and he had those 4 years. Yeah, and he had those 4 years to plan and to be like, okay, regroup. What happened? How do we be more effective? And the answer is we clean house. And that's what we're seeing here with, I mean, this raid is, say what you will about, like, maybe you don't like it. Maybe it's, you know, maybe there would be a better way. Maybe Trump should rise above. Maybe he should, what was the Andrew McCarthy or Kevin McCarthy over at National Review was like, he should just see his popular vote win as his vengeance on his enemies. I he's
voted
here
for
to
these
clean
people
house.
to go to jail.
This isn't about This isn't about like, oh, I have a symbolic win because I got the popular vote. This is about actually changing the way we are operating the government, and that involves prosecuting the members of the deep state, Republican or Democrat.
Because in another part of this equation that's funny to me is that this was scuttled by the Biden administration. It's so just business as usual. Like this guy clearly, in my mind, committed treason or had his hands on some type of classified documentation that he shouldn't have. And instead of actually holding people accountable, getting them out of government, because what happened after he was fired by Trump? He just went off to whatever consultancy I can't remember the name of the organization, but they just keep cashing in on their security clearances. And I know that Tulsi Gabbard was going after a lot of different security clearances. And it's just, I don't understand how you can sit and look me in the eyes and say that this is all political. Like the Democrats now saying like, oh, this is just a political witch hunt and going after all these people. It's I think willful ignorance of the fact that no one ever gets punished. No one gets punished. No one's held accountable. No one gets fired. I voted for people to get fired, and I voted for people committed treason to be held accountable for this. And I saw lawyers even looking at this. Both sides are like, yeah, he could do real time in jail for, putting state secrets out there and putting our nation at risk.
Right.
And so, yes, if he has it, I mean, sure, give him his day in court, right? Like, go find all the evidence and make a case.
I'm a fan of due process. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
But
and to pretend as though the Biden administration didn't
Yeah.
have any heavy-handed arrest tactics, I present to you Mark Houck, who had his house raided for pushing someone in front of an abortion facility. It's not like I would argue that this is completely appropriate. They did it in the morning. They're not going to give them an advanced warning. They don't want them to shred the documents. After the Mar-a-Lago raid, all of your defense now is completely destroyed. I mean, what you're gonna pretend as though this is somehow not the modus operandi? I don't think he's doing anything wrong here. I'd love to see what comes of this.
Yeah, and contrast this with the political prosecution of Donald Trump, the lawfare against him. I mean, just this week we had the New York judge vacate the fine that Trump was ordered to pay based on this conviction, the ridiculous convictions with under Letitia James as the New York City, as the AG. Is she the AG? Oh my gosh, Josh would kill me on
the
this
Attorney General of New York.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The AG, but the contrast that with the way that prosecution was carried out, where we had these, first of all, charges brought against Trump that in no way rose to the level of felonies. So they're like, oh no, we need to convict him of a felony. Let's make these charges into felonies. And like the moving of the goalposts, and John Bolton sitting there on all of the talk shows saying, oh, no one should get upset. We're just trusting the process. I'm like, no, they're not doing the process. They're changing the process to prosecute the man. This is not about accountability under the law versus now. I mean, say what you will about Trump, he's following the law. Like they're talking about, okay, in DC, oh my gosh, Trump like took over the DC federal thing and he's cleaning up DC and he's a total dictator and oh my gosh, no kings. Like he's actually just following the law. The law allows the president of the United States to do that. Now, if he was doing the same thing in Chicago or the same thing in Los Angeles, then you'd be like, okay, he's changing the law. He's a dictator. He's
No,
taking
I'm
over.
actually, there's actually a legal precedent for him to actually do that. I'm not actually convinced that that's illegal.
Okay. Same,
They did.
yeah.
They did it during the George Floyd riots. They
It's
sent
true. It's
National
true. They
Guard
sent
over
in the
there.
National Guard but they were in like,
It
they
was,
were in collaboration with the local people for those.
Sure, but it's I wouldn't even concede that, because I think you're kind of getting at the point here is that there has been injustice because the law that is put in place for the common good has not been followed intentionally.
Right.
And that's why we get our cities full of
And our border
crime,
open.
homelessness, drugs, to the point where they're not safe for American citizens. And it happened in our nation's capital. So this was done. In this case, we have a cadre of lifetime diplomats and state officials that clearly flaunt the law. I mean, the greatest example of this would be the Russiagate stuff. The Russiagate stuff, and then Peter Strzok.
Right.
I think he had an affair with someone and then was texting about how bad they wanted to get Trump out of office, all on paper. And the hubris of these people to know that they're doing all this illegal stuff and know that they're never going to get punished for it because they're just going to get covered for has been the status quo of the government for however many years. I mean, maybe since the beginning of the country, but it's wrong and people need to get punished for it. But if any punishment happens, it's going to be partisan, or the accusations are going to fly. But I think the reality is that should be the status quo. This is what the law actually demands. But of course, people are above the law. And so you get no one is above the law thrown around, which is a hilarious quote considering Trump when they invented a novel financial crime that no American's ever been charged with, essentially to get a catchphrase to be able to call him a felon, which is the funniest and most meaningless. I think if anything, that made him more popular. Yeah. The moment I actually thought Donald Trump had a chance in 2024 was when they raided Mar-a-Lago. I said, there's no going back from this. This is the total, there's no going back. This has never been done to someone before. The treatment of it was insane. And I'm like, you're just fueling his fire. If you could have left him alone, maybe he fades into irrelevance. But I knew at that point, I was like, he's probably going to be president in 2024.
Oh, good for you.
So we'll see.
It took for me the assassination attempt, and I was like, that's over. We're done.
Yeah, that was kind of like, okay.
Fight.
They tried to shoot him. They tried to put him in jail. And for people that are questioning whether or not he'd be spending the rest of his life in jail right now if he lost that election, hilarious. He'd for sure be in jail right now. They would bankrupt him. They'd humiliate his family. I have no doubt in my mind that would have been what happened. So what they all said they'd do it. So, yeah.
Believe them when they say it.
Anyway, curious to see where this all goes. But before we get into Cracker Barrel, Erica.
Hey guys, I have a double header for you. Here's another great product. Did you know that American homeowners have over $32 trillion in equity? That's a lot. And criminals are targeting it with a growing scam the FBI, hello Kash Patel, calls house stealing. Scammers can transfer your title out of your name using a one-page document they file at the county. Then they take out loans against it or even sell it behind your back. That is a nightmare. The scariest part, though, you won't find out about it until collection or foreclosure notices start arriving in your mailbox, leaving you with a financial and legal nightmare. The best way to protect your equity is with Home Title Lock's exclusive $1 million triple lock protection. This service offers 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if fraud should occur, their US-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix the fraud and restore your title. So, when was the last time you checked on your title? If you were like me, homeowner on the show, the answer is never. Accurate. Actually, last time Home Title Lock was on here, I did, but we're good. Before that, it was never. And don't let that be you. And that's exactly what scammers are counting on. The good news is we've partnered with Home Title Lock to offer you all 60 days for just $1. Just $1. Click the link in the description below and use promo code LOOP60 to get 60 days for just $1. And you'll also get a free title history report to ensure you are not already a victim. And make sure you check out the $1 million triple lock protection details when you get there. Click the link below and promo code LOOP60. It's a great deal. Check it out.
Sweet. Thanks, Home Title Lock. Cracker Barrel. The people are talking about Cracker Barrel.
Oh, Cracker Barrel. My grits.
So for the Cracker Barrel heads here in the LOOPcast audience, Cracker Barrel underwent a bit of a redesign. Here is the old logo here that you may know and love. Yeah. And the new logo, as some commentators have said, no longer have the cracker or the barrel on it. They now have this new flat design font with a little rounded hexagon around it. And let's just say people are not thrilled. Here's
Not
the
happy.
inside of an old
Worse.
Cracker
This is
Barrel.
worse to me. Worse than the logo is what you see before you now. What they did to the interior.
Yes,
Of
the
old
interior.
Cracker
So there's
Barrel.
no longer any rusty farm equipment on the walls. It looks like if Johanna Gaines got a hold of the redesign and threw some shiplap up.
Excellent.
And here's what it looks like. It is a little bit brighter. But I did want to. So everyone got into low hanging fruit, right? They went woke.
Yep.
This is terrible. I wanted to look a little deeper into this. Why does we just talked about on this podcast? Why does every logo, everything go super minimalist? Why do they lose all their
Right.
character and style?
Now, remember, MSNOW.
So I consulted designers myself. I wanted to see what's going on here. So I have interesting thoughts on all that. But before we get into that, the story behind this. So they have a new CEO as of 2023, Julie Feiss Massino, and they were rebranding, in their words, to address declining relevance and attract a broader, younger customer base while maintaining its core identity. Noted that the brand had lost some shine due to flat sales, a tumbling stock price, and reduced customer frequency. They announced a $700 million transformation plan aims to modernize the chain's image. And so this is updating the menu. This is remodeling stores. They're going to update about 40 of the 660 locations with brighter, less cluttered interiors, modern lighting, more comfortable seating to create a fresher, more welcoming atmosphere. And then, yes, the logo caught the brunt of it.
What is more welcoming than my grandmother's front porch? Like hoarder Southern grandma front porch. Like that is the most welcoming. I don't know how this is more welcoming. Just sorry. I will keep out.
All good.
Save it. I'll
All
save
good.
it. You may
So,
finish your story.
Save it. Yeah. Well, so I was looking into the CEO because she, of course, has the black thick rim Mark Cuban glasses, but she was previously at Taco Bell, which was interesting to me. Taco Bell 2018 to 2023 because they have updated their branding quite a bit. So she was the president of Taco Bell. She also served at Starbucks in leadership positions between 1998 and 2018. So she had a lot of
She's
long
like a
time.
Starbucks maid. That was where she cut her teeth for sure, man.
Yeah, lots of experience. I think it makes sense. And then I was looking into the financials. I mean, because I was like, okay, Cracker Barrel. I personally have not been into a Cracker Barrel in a long time. I imagine a lot of other people probably not as well. So since 2019, customer traffic has declined nearly 20%, indicating a significant loss of relevancy. Stock performance reflects all these struggles, with shares dropping 37% in 2024 and 70% over 5 years.
Ouch.
The company netted a net loss of $9.2 million in Q3 in 2024 compared to a $14 million net income the prior year. Yeah, not great. So it seemed to me like they needed kind of a Hail Mary, or at least that was the approach. But, clearly what was done didn't net, I think, what they were hoping. Here's their stock price after the announcement, wiping out, I believe it was like $100 billion in, a couple minutes.
Over 100 billion is crazy. Yeah, Sean Davis over at the Federalist had an interesting analysis. It's a fun read too. He's a great writer.
Yeah.
And he noted that a lot of this goes back to COVID, of course, and that, you have the decline in customer traffic. So looking at these numbers that you just quoted, mostly from, 2020, the decline drop in the stock shares, it's really that Cracker Barrel never recovered from COVID. And he said anyone who is a regular connoisseur of the Cracker Barrels has noticed since then that, we had shrinkflation. So like the portions got smaller. They stopped bringing you the free biscuits from the honey for a while. Customer service really tanked. People were angrier, less welcoming, took less pride in their work, and they just never recovered. And they bring on this new woman 2 years ago to fix it. And like all high level corporate marketers, instead of going and saying, okay, how do we hire people who take pride in their service, who love the mission of Cracker Barrel, who love the heritage and the brand loyalty? They're like, it's a branding problem. We're going to change your brand. And so you get this, you look at the price tag on this $700 million transformation plan. I have seen estimates that between 300 and 500 million of those dollars went to consulting firms for marketing on what should we do with this brand. It took 3 mega firms to come up with that logo that you share. Can you put that back up there? Everyone
logo,
just needs
yeah.
to see this. This is a ripoff, right? Hundreds of millions of dollars to these consultants to say, take off the cracker, take off the barrel, and just give us, it looks like Nestle.
Someone suggested I should interview this guy.
Yeah, we need
See
to
what his
find
thoughts
him.
are. We can go find him.
All of us have him in our family tree somewhere.
Steak and Shake was getting in digs too. I mean, you know it's bad when Steak and Shake's getting out.
Yeah,
Democrats are even saying this is bad. So I.
But you talked to a designer, Tom.
Yes, I talked to a
What is
designer.
the underlying theory here of why everything is becoming the same and ugly and
I talked to someone who
minimalist?
went to design school because I'm
Okay.
like, you pay all this money to the consultants and you come up with this. And my first thought was, is this 4D chess? They intentionally made something bad to get attention. And it worked.
It's a lot of attention.
But because you never notice redesigns when they're good, you only notice the bad ones. So the designer perspective is there's a school of thought called flat design. It's an offshoot of Swiss design. And
Okay.
so if you see, and Apple was the one that really put this on to everyone, and everyone was an imitator. But if you go to design school, she had some interesting thoughts. Like she went to design school. It's much different than art school. So designers are not artists and they're not trained as such. So they're very pragmatic and practical. The flat design school is, so examples would be like, say, the Pringles design has kind of become more minimalist over, like every design you can think of has become more minimalist in terms of the logo.
Right.
Simple equals recognizable. And I believe there's actually some digital arguments for making your logo more recognizable from far away and simpler so that you can reformat it on different, say, like mobile applications or web pages, on billboards. Like there are arguments for it. But I think here I have an example of Apple, which is going to give you a good taste of what flat design is. I mean, everyone will recognize it because everyone's lived through it. But so, yeah, here's flat design, iOS 7 flat design, and then this was iOS 6 was what it was before. So you see a lot more gradients, shade, and then this is just no gradients,
Yeah,
very
brighter,
little gradients,
simpler.
simple, flat in the word.
It's a point and click. It's easier to just
And then,
it's functional.
yeah, so like if you take a look at the logos here for a comparison, say like Burger King going to here, which is funny. I think that was actually their 70s. Burberry going
Yeah,
simple.
it's much more back to the 70s. Oh, Burberry. That makes me sad, though.
But funny, Burberry's back. So it was here and then it went here and now it's back to closer to this logo.
It went
in
back to
red.
St. George. Oh,
And so the interesting designer
London.
perspective on all this was flat design is actually on its way out. People
Oh, Tom left. Don't leave me, Tom. I'm on my own.
Yeah, I don't know what
And you
I
have
don't know
no
what to say
there
at
you
this
go.
point. With
He's back. He's
I've
back.
tried so many different things, but
He
I'm
went
back.
minimalist, like no sound, Tom.
Yeah, I flattened. But the funny thing about this was even from a designer perspective, it was almost like they got on the trend too late. Like people are going back to more, say, maximalist or like something with more character, something that's more complex because people are so tired. This might have been, I think someone was saying the flat design has been the longest living digital trend ever. Since we've had the internet. And so people are getting away from that now or back to their roots. So it's almost like they moved too late. Like you paid all this money for someone to do something that's not even in right now. But of course, I don't think that fully addresses like why people are upset. People are upset because you are like, quote, debranding or taking away the heart and soul of something that people love. I think Cracker Barrel started in the 1980s, I think late 1970s. And the intent was this should be like visiting your grandma. Like you're on your way to your grandma's. It's why you don't stop at fast food and you stop in here for a meal, and people have all their memories there and the nostalgia there. And I was Sean Davis, who is apparently a connoisseur. He's been there all the time. I think he's right about how food quality, they were cutting corners everywhere after 2020, as many places did.
Right.
But they also had if you don't remember, they painted one of their chairs rainbow. And they started all of these in 2024, and it was a big scandal, and they tried to cover it up. And they also have all these like ridiculous like LGBTQIA like type groups. So the transition had started. So I'm like, I think they do earn somewhat of their quote woke stripes. But even if you go back, I think there was a scandal in the 90s. They they had their values basically were like, I think they went after people they saw as like effeminate or something like that. Like it is crazy how much it has changed since then. But the New York Times said it in their write-up on this, is like they wanted to get away from their racist connotations or their whatever connotations, and people are just realizing like, oh no, this isn't actually about. I think there is an element of out of touch New York, even where they promoted this. They did all their promotion for this in New York City. They went to
Right.
Good Morning
Yep.
America. They had like a pop up in some trendy part of Brooklyn or whatever. And I think that just says it all, right? I mean, this Cracker Barrel started in Tennessee. They
Mhm.
clearly didn't ask any of the patrons what
I know.
what they loved about this.
On her Good
Obviously,
Morning America appearance, the CEO was like, "Oh my gosh, we've had such great feedback from this." I'm like, "Are you rotating on the same planet I am? Because I have seen zero positive feedback from anyone who has ever patronized a Cracker Barrel on this." But she's like, "Yeah, everyone loved it, and not just our customers, our team, our workforce also." And I'm like, I really would like to talk to these people who love it. But I think too, much has been said about it. The low hanging fruit is, oh, they went woke, go broke. Robbie Starbuck is promising some kind of massive uncovering today, so maybe we'll have more news on that. But I think just in general, the philosophy of life, the philosophy of art, that the whole critical race theory, the whole critical woke theory, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think that whole philosophy does tend towards ugliness, monoculture, samification. And here's why: because art is highly susceptible to ideology, and it's also in turn a driver of ideological takeover in places. And so with these logos, with the architecture and the interior decorating that is so flat and same, it's reflecting a conviction that safety is found in sameness and in not sticking out, finding the sheepfold and staying well within the walls, not breaking out and being yourself, because it's when you break out that you can be targeted as, oh, they're like racist, or they're different, or they're exclusionary. They're not like us being the people in power, which in corporate America have been the DEI and the woke and the LGBTQ. And so the art reflects that conviction as well. I think it also has something to do with this conviction in the higher levels of corporate and marketing and branding, that Americans have nowhere else to go, right? If all the restaurants become the same, people can fight about it and scream about it, but they're going to end up back at Cracker Barrel anyway, because there isn't anything else. And it is hard to break into the fast food chain restaurant business because it's so monopolized and it's so huge. Like,
yeah,
if I wanted to start my own restaurant here in Connecticut and just be an indie, how hard would that be? It's much easier to just buy a franchise and be like, I'm going to open a Cracker Barrel. So I think that there's the mass affluence of our culture is also contributing to the sameness, or the fact that these companies are hoping to be able to survive doing something that so many of their customers clearly hate.
yeah. And I think there's I'm not like a capitalism worshiper, and I think this is actually a case in which unfettered capitalism and monopolies actually objectively make life worse for consumers, because
And
clearly the
uglier.
consumers don't want this. But what are they
Mhm.
doing this for? Like, they're doing this for the New York Stock Exchange. They're
Yeah.
hiring the biggest consultants in the world to come do them. How are you supposed to start your own Cracker Barrel? Like, they're just, how could you
Right.
compete with, say, like a McDonald's franchise?
Exactly. My
So
point. Yeah.
we've lost all of these local places that have flavor, they have life, they're family owned. And I know that there are family owned chains, but it
Yeah.
isn't the same. I was even going back and looking through like historic footage of San Francisco in the 50s.
Mhm.
And I mean, you'll note a few things. One, I don't see too many drug addicts in this part of town.
Sidewalks are clear.
Don't see a lot of graffiti. But even I was looking at the logos, like even down to the font, the buildings.
A lot more diversity, dare I say. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Color.
that the internet certainly has I think a conforming effect
Mhm.
on what everyone decides to do. It just becomes copycat. But
Yeah. Got to feed the algorithm. The algorithm only wants one thing: success.
yeah, I do think there's a
Yep.
revulsion to this. And the other point too, I think that's actually an argument for nationalism properly understood, is
Mhm.
that I want Italy to look like Italy. And I want like America to have its own feel and culture, and this like kind of like conformist to everything being the same, or that there'd be one group of people making choices for everyone, whether or not that's, global behemoth companies or like a coalition of governments or something. I think it just inevitably leads to something like this. And everyone kind of hates it. Like I do think that even like very gentrified parts of cities, like you see kind of a revulsion to the sameness of everything.
Yeah. Well, and people who can afford to go to the boutique to shop with local artisans, people who can't afford that do it because, people hate sameness and you feel like a slave. At the same time, we also love it because it's cheap and affordable.
Yeah, but if you ever want to get radicalized, go to a small, what do you call it? Like small towns, city hall. They're all unbelievable. Like you could drive through Indiana and find an unbelievable city hall in a tiny
like the
neighborhood
ones built in the 1900s, early 20th century.
Yeah. And like we just don't build like that anymore. That's a whole nother episode, but on beauty and why it's important. Okay, good news.
All right. Good news. Okay, the teens are going to be okay. So if you'd gone to DC 4 weeks ago, you would have perhaps, if you'd gone out after dark, been watching roving gangs of 14 and 15-year-olds smashing things. It was not a safe place. I mentioned up above, Trump has totally turned this around by sending in the National Guard, by calling in for help, by taking over the DC police force, massively cleaned up all the numbers. But this video really got my heartstrings. So if you could pull that up. It turns out there are some really good teens who live in DC who did not want to be part of the 14 and 15-year-old gangs. They just wanted big trucks. They just wanted to sit on some Humvees. And so we have these videos coming out. This is just one of many. The National Guard troops, they park the tanks, they park the Humvees. And look, there's these teens who come up. They're talking to the National Guard guys. They're sitting on the Humvees. There's a story about one guy who let the teens go and sit in the driver's seat and see what the inside was. But this is great, guys. This is what teens should be doing. This is like Touch a Truck, but for 14-year-olds. Go check it out.
Getting pictures in front of the trucks.
Getting the pictures taken, selfies with the National Guard. Look, guys, we can all work together. We can have clean streets. We can have teens who are aspiring to serve their nation in the armed forces because they just love the trucks. This is healthy. This is a good DC. Yeah,
I'm a big truck guy for sure.
I love those videos.
Okay, my good news comes from a listener, so I'd like to give a shout out to Kelly. I'm not going to give the last name, but Kelly, thank you for sending this in. Said, I'm a faithful LOOPcast listener and wanted to share this fun story I just heard. I believe you might be familiar with the mission of Our Lady of the Angels in Chicago. The history behind the parish, its school fire that took the life of so many children in the 50s, its unfortunate closure, and now rebirth as a mission are itself a great story. The now Bishop Bob Lombardo has taken the mission given to him by Francis Cardinal George in what has become a crime-ridden community and done amazing things. He established the mission feeding and spiritually nourishing over 800 families a week, began a new religious order, including a marathon running sister, a Food Network Chopped champion, and now a second-place finisher in Chicago's Venetian Night Boat Parade last month. You'll have to watch the link to see their name. This is hysterical. I guess I was unaware of this, but there's a Venetian boat competition, and it looks like Pope Leo made an appearance, if not in person, in spirit. So I'll play a little bit of this.
Oh my gosh, this is great.
Second place.
I need to go to this.
It's a Pope Leo Venetian boat. down to the outfits too. Like they had even the extras. They had Pope Leo waving in the river. Great. So cool. Love to see it. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out. I went and found some video of the mission. I wanted to play a little bit of it.
Yeah, what's this new religious
order?
Sounds really cool.
Some awesome work. An ad here.
Get an ad because everything's fake. All right, what do we got?
Yep. All right.
I'm Sister Stephanie Baliga, and I'm a member of the Franciscans of the Eucharist of Chicago. The Mission of Our Lady of the Angels is located in West Humboldt Park, which is one of the most neediest and difficult neighborhoods in the United States of America. And most people live under the poverty level in our neighborhood. And all of the statistics that are associated with poverty come along with that. So we exist here, we live here in the neighborhood to be able to be the hands and feet of Jesus in the neighborhood. We have, by the nature of our work, are mostly in one place. And we just don't have the capacity right now to go out a lot in the neighborhood farther than our immediate area. We receive about 45,000 pounds of food a month here at the mission, and a lot of that food is used for our regular pantries, but we also package a lot of that food up to be shipped out with the Alexian Brothers for the food delivery. Our partnership with the Alexian Brothers for our food delivery program began during the pandemic. It was very clear at the beginning of the pandemic that we needed to deliver food to seniors and handicapped people and people who were stuck at their house. And we began this on a very small scale with another group, but it was very clear that the need was extraordinarily large. Without the Alexian Brothers, we would not be able to do this food delivery. We do not have capacity to do food delivery right now. And we absolutely need them to be able to do this. If not, it wouldn't exist.
My name is Alberta Frencher, and I'm a recipient of the goodness of God through these brothers who deliver food to me twice a month, which sometimes I can't get out and get things. It's a great service to the community and a great service doing God's work for them.
Wow.
Yeah,
all
one of
week,
my favorite
except for the
parts
Alexian
was-
Brothers, who will come and bring them this food, spend some time talking to them, and pray with them to be able to know that they are loved. And it's more than just about the food, because we can be there with them. And in addition, we're,
Awesome.
All right, young ladies, it seems like they need some more help. So if any of you are discerning a vocation and you just want to serve the poor and love Jesus, this looks like a good opportunity.
Shout out to Our Lady of the Angels.
Yeah,
That was sick.
that was awesome, Tom. Great good news.
Okay. Now we get into the
Oh boy, what we've all been waiting for.
what we've all been wearing for.
Any Hillsdale fans in the chat?
Yeah, my conservative uncle or conservative grandpa.
George Washington's first inaugural, part of it written by James Madison. Our republic is founded in the great fact and the whole course and economy of nature, the indissoluble connection between virtue and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a summary of Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics.
And you said something really important with the letter that Washington writes to the Jewish synagogue. There is a difference between liberty and toleration, that those were not identical. So religious toleration is, we have an established church, we have a state religion, we will tolerate those who are dissenters. Liberty is a more expansive definition. And I, until you were reading it there again, I had forgotten that Washington makes that important connection.
Yeah, Hillsdale College is famous, which is a good thing, almost always. But some mischievous journalist writes, but they are admired by the Christian nation. And it and I wrote a letter to the editor, and they printed it. I just said, somebody admiring somebody else doesn't necessarily say anything about somebody else.
That's right.
But if they do admire Hillsdale College, they will learn from it that a Christian nation is not possible because Jesus' kingdom is not of this world.
Oh boy.
So
And the internet exploded.
so
A Christian nation is not possible
yeah.
because my kingdom is not of this world.
Yep. So that
And everyone went,
yeah, that attracted some controversy. Some people not thrilled about that statement. And it just warmed Erica's philosopher heart.
It did,
And
it
then
did.
Larry P, he kind of dug his heels in, which I would say, if you're in a hole, I wouldn't grab a shovel. But here's what he had to say. I appear to have made some people mad by saying a Christian nation is impossible. Let me propose another formulation that I have used often and for years. America is the most Christian nation because it recognizes the principle of religious liberty, which comes from the mouths of the founders and of Jesus himself, when he says that his kingdom is not of this world. At Hillsdale, we believe that Jesus is the maker and savior of all. We also believe with the founders that no law is good that compels anyone to believe that. Laws that compel belief are what led to centuries of religious persecution and warfare in the so-called Christian Europe. So now not only has he said a Christian nation impossible, he is now throwing shade at the so-called Christian Europe medieval period. Erica, any thoughts on this?
Yeah. I mean, first case in point, do not Twitter is a terrible place to hash out intellectual nuances about anything, particularly about religion and politics. But nevertheless, Twitter is what we have. And I think that First, it's really important when we're considering this question to make some definitions. And I do think, like, give him a benefit of the doubt, obviously. And Larry Arnn, he deserves the benefit of the doubt, and he deserves the most charitable reading.
This isn't
this
isn't a
this
critique
is not
of Larry
like
P as a
Larry
person or his
Arnn.
accomplishments. This is just a fun debate about ideas.
But it's like he said something that was probably poorly chosen in words, and then he had to go back and defend it and just kept digging. So I think, like, my understanding of what he's trying to say is that Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world," right? And because Christianity is predicated upon the freedom to embrace and choose belief in Christ and to conform our lives morally, that free choice, because Christianity is so predicated, it is impossible to have a fully Christian nation understood as a theocracy which compels belief in all of its citizens and compels moral uprightness in all of its citizens, because the two can't go together, right? And I think there's a certain amount of truth. It is true, right, that you can't compel belief. And what many of the founding fathers were trying to avoid in the establishment of the American nation is what they saw as an impossible project of the state trying to legislate what people believed about God. But to go back and say that to the first formulation that a Christian nation is impossible is too broad of a stroke, right? Because what do we mean when we say America is a Christian nation? And I do believe America is a Christian nation, understood not as a theocracy, because obviously we don't have a law, like the Constitution doesn't say, here's a statement of faith you have to ascribe to in order to be an American citizen.
That was never the case.
That was never the case. It was never even a thought in the heads of the founders. I mean, this wasn't even argued in Philadelphia that, oh, should we have a statement of faith? I think there were arguments about it, probably around in the smaller arguments going on in the States or in puritanical circles, but it wasn't really like a thing ever. But in the sense that America, from the beginning, had a sense of Christian morality, pardon me, Tom, the Judeo-Christian tradition, so including the Old Testament and into the New Testament with the Beatitudes.
I don't like what you're insinuating there.
Yeah, right. I know you don't. That's why I'm going to like say my thing, and then you can dig at it. But the notion, the idea that America would persist only so long as we were a moral people that willingly lived out the Ten Commandments, that of our own desires and our own choices, believed things like in human dignity, believed things like equality under the law, which is a Christian concept, believed things like it is wrong to steal, you shouldn't murder people, like unborn children, for example. That's a modern example. But America would only flourish as a nation so long as we were a Christian people, is very much true. And the idea that the so-called Christian Europe dig, that was just
that's bad. That's really bad.
That was really, that was
like, you don't think that there were
yeah.
What is that even saying? Are you saying that like the Holy Roman Empire wasn't a Christian nation, that they didn't do anything good? Like what?
Again, like what I think would happen is if you sat Larry Arnn down in a room and you're like, Larry, were you really like putting yourself against, say, John Paul II, who told, when the European Union Constitution was being formulated, was like, if you are not a Christian Europe, you will cease to be Europe. Would you really be like, oh, he was wrong, there's no such thing as a Christian Europe, so-called Christian Europe? No, I don't think Larry would do that if you sat him down in a room, which is, again, why Twitter is the worst thing.
But why didn't you just say that like a theocracy isn't, like what's the distinction between a theocracy and a Christian nation?
Right. So I went back, I listened to the whole conversation with the man he's talking with here, Kevin Lee DeYoung. It was taken as a whole. I would encourage everyone to go back and listen to the entire thing. It was really interesting, especially as a Catholic thinker, to listen to these two Protestant men discuss this question, because it is kind of a window into a world that I am an outsider to. Right. And there were some really interesting points made. Kevin Lee DeYoung, he was sort of, he is clearly of the conviction that we are a Christian nation, and that America flourishes so long as, to the extent that Americans conform their lives and their morals to the Christian tradition. He referenced this, looking back at American history, this historian called Samuel Goldman, who wrote After Nationalism, who framed America as a covenant, a creed, and a crucible. So the first Americans were very specifically theocrats, right? You have the Puritans who arrive in the New World, who have statements of faith in order to belong to their communities. The idea then of America grows into this like city on a hill, God's chosen nation, even echoes of this in Manifest Destiny, like we are destined to take over this continent as Americans. This is the fulfillment of Christian nations here. And then you come into the Civil War era, the melting pot. This is what he calls the crucible era of American history, which again, while it's moving away from the city on a hill Puritans, it's still a Christian struggle to how do we more closely conform our nation to the calling of Christ, to the divine order, when we are becoming a melting pot. We have Catholics coming into our cities in vast numbers. We have, the question of slavery, which is clearly a violation of Christianity. And that's when you get like Hillsdale's founding. Hillsdale's a great example of this struggle to be a melting pot. Hillsdale, unlike most of the schools of the era, like Harvard and Yale, it doesn't have a statement of faith. It doesn't say, oh,
Sorry,
you need to.
So can I be more precise? You're saying melting
Yeah.
pot. Are you referring to, say, liberalism?
Yeah, it's like true liberalism, right?
Yeah.
Like how are we going
small
to
L liberalism? Yeah.
small L liberalism, not liberals like we understand progressive,
Right,
not
it's got
progressive
lost in the
liberalism,
debate, yeah,
right?
for sure.
Exactly. So that's this era, and then we have sort of America as a creed with its own creed. This comes into the more progressive, like America as an idea, right? We all ascribe to the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution. For those of us who are more conservative Americans, we all ascribe to MLK. I have a dream speech for the progressives, right? America as idea, and I thought that. But in all of those, there is an element of being a Christian nation. And for me, I think a huge part of that is just the conviction that there is a truth and there is an objective standard of human flourishing that as Christians, we believe finds its fulfillment in Jesus Christ and in divine law. And that America is a Christian nation only insofar as we conform to the divine law. Any nation, it doesn't have to be America, can be Christian.
So,
to it.
yeah, and again, because you're much more than I and much more well-read, so to put a finer point on it, I think the part of the liberalism debate, or that people have kind of drank the Kool-Aid of John Locke, is that the
who
main
came up a
critique-
lot in this conversation,
right?
by the way.
The main Catholic critique of John Locke is that he doesn't actually have any metaphysics behind his philosophy. That there is his philosophy is very pragmatic.
He rejected metaphysics.
Right. The idea of like human rights being a construct that is pragmatic and helpful for society to organize itself, as opposed to, say, more of an Aquinas or an Augustine idea of, say, like a natural law, that there is a rhythm behind everything,
An order.
that an order, and that by aligning laws to that order, you can have the common good and people flourish within that society. And so then everyone's like, well, was the country more founded upon more of a classical understanding of natural law, or on this very like practical, pragmatic Lockean version of what the country is? And then what does that say then about the people that inhabit it? So like, could you live in America if you're not Christian? So I don't know. That's typically what I hear. Again, I'm not very smart, and I don't understand.
Stop it.
No. Seriously, like people really get into this and they get mad. You know, I'd be like, people get all fired up about it. But
well, and I think too, there's that's why I really liked the way they framed Kevin here in the conversation, framed this historically as a progression, because we have the founding of the United States, and there is the framers clearly have a grounding in natural law, right? So they're trained in the classics, they're trained in the tradition, but they also are influenced by the Enlightenment. And I think that what we see is the founding was solid. It has potential, though, as the questions of history and the challenges of history unfold, to go in two different directions. One would be the purely pragmatic, power-based Enlightenment, like whoever's power is the answer. There isn't a natural order. There isn't a divine law against which we are ultimately judged. It's a matter of goals and how do we pragmatically get to those goals. And we see this in the current like Democratic Party. We see that direction being taken in progressivism, right? There's also the option America could go. Which way, America? John Paul II asked us. Which way? The other direction we can go is that natural law direction, where it is a nation's laws are good and just to the extent that they conform to the divine law. And people are like, oh my gosh, you're going to legislate morality. It's all right for the law to say things like, people who murder other people should go to jail. That's the obvious example that both sides should be able to
and from what I
agree
understand
on.
too, like even Locke himself, this difference between liberty and license, like he would have been all for it. There was blasphemy laws in early America. Like you couldn't blaspheme Our Lady or Jesus. Like you'd be put in jail for that. And I don't think he would have seen any problem with that. Same with say like rape or incest or things like that being illegal and wrong. Like you don't have the full freedom, the liberty to do that.
That's the lie of the naked public square, right? The lie of like, no, laws can be perfectly neutral. And I think Alexis de Tocqueville is my absolute favorite prophet of the founding era. Well, really like, the 1840s, but Alexis de Tocqueville comes over from France and he's seen the French Revolution. He's seen the American Revolution, and he comes over and he tours the country, and he looks at America and he sees the way for her to go is to become more religious, and not only more religious, but he believes, he doesn't say it in exactly these words, but I think he believes that it is the Catholics of the United States who can steer the country in a direction that is long lasting and conformed to natural law. And he says, this was a quote from Democracy in America that I pulled up. He said, the Catholics of the United States, and this is at a time when Catholics were seen as, they have their primary allegiance to the Pope, so they're bad. They're bad.
They hang out in Maryland,
right? Yeah, these are your bad Americans. But he said the Catholics of the United States are at the same time the most faithful believers in their own faith and the most zealous citizens. And he continues, on doctrinal points, the Catholic faith places all human capacities on the same level. It subjects the wise and the ignorant, the genius and the vulgar to the details of the same creed. All Catholics have to believe in their creed. It imposes the same observances on the rich and the poor. It inflicts the same austerities on the strong and the weak. It listens to no compromise with mortal man, but reducing all the human race to the same standard. It confounds all distinctions of society at the foot of the same altar, even as they are confounded in the sight of God. So he's saying Catholics are going to make the best Americans going forward. They're going to provide the direction to the country that the country needs because of their creed. You can't legislate their creed, but that creed is what will save the United States. And I think he's absolutely right.
Doesn't George Washington had a quote too about like religion basically being like the fourth rail or like the fourth pillar of society, something in regards to that.
He said religion and morality are the firmest props, and I have it here, of the duties of men and citizens, meaning of the law.
Right. So again, is the issue that people have with the Larry P statement is that because of all the outside observers say, or not even outside in the case of George Washington, but Alexis de Tocqueville, everyone's saying that in order for America to work, it has to be of a religious people, of a Christian people specifically. That is what makes it a Christian nation, not the fact that it like from the top says America in parentheses Christian nation. It's that needs to be a firm part of what happens here. Otherwise, it just will not be able to sustain in the way that we designed it.
I think there's that in terms of how to sustain the United States of America. It must continue to be a Christian people. And because the way that Larry P. Arnn framed it in both his response and in his initial comment seemed to be ignoring the actual history of when it happened, which is such an irony, because you think of like Hillsdale equals history. Larry Arnn is a historian. So it seems to me it was careless, it was lacking in nuance, and then he dug in on a platform that doesn't allow for nuance.
Right. And then tangential too, I saw that Anthony Esselin had something about, I think this is somewhat a case in the regard of how we treat the Middle Ages in Catholicism. He was talking about how there isn't the flat earthers, they came around.
Oh, yes.
And it's used as a, but it's used as a slur as though like the greatest thinkers in Western civilization thought at one point that the earth was flat. And that's actually kind of like a revisionist history. Most of them didn't think so. They thought that it was round, and they knew that it was round because they had reason and they weren't stupid.
That is totally WASP history based on like the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. It is so like anglicized.
Totally, which is why it's really fun to get into history on like what it almost feels like you're reading something dangerous, because if you go back and you read it, like, oh my gosh, like these people actually didn't think the earth was flat.
They actually weren't stupid.
And then you ask, why would someone make you believe that these people thought that the earth was flat? And in my opinion, it's a intentional ploy to make you think that those people are dumb and that we're creating something new and we're smarter and we got a brave new future ahead of us. Yeah. And people that, you can discard their ideas basically because they're unserious people, either in this small intellectual matter, but then all the other things are probably dumb and stupid about.
Yeah.
And I think this is somewhat the case with medieval Catholicism as well. Like people just, if you don't actually go back and you ingratiate yourself in the material and actually read what was being written at the time, primary sources, you would think that they were just selling indulgences and they had no moral quest behind whatever they're doing. It was just total, chaos, and they were just killing a bunch of Muslims and like.
Yeah, this also touches on the AI thing, because if you go and you interrogate ChatGPT about this kind of stuff, they're going to give you the WASP.
Wouldn't do it.
No, do not do it. Like you can't even do not trust your Google search anymore, because that is just WASP informed history. You have to go back to primary sources 100%. Yeah. The Middle Ages are so much more colorful and interesting and smart than any of us learned who had to take AP European history. Like this is.
Go read about knights. Knights fire me up.
Knights are cool.
Yeah.
Templars.
I'll just bring it down to simple. Go back and read about knights, because you're like, oh, they just put on suits and fought people. Like, did you know about their prayer lives? Did you know about their routines? Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, their festivals, they were party. They could party
awesome.
Hardy.
They were ripping mead, having a good time. So, okay. Twilight Zone now.
Oh, we're back in the Twilight Zone. Okay. All right. Speaking of words, and we just had this memo dropped from an organization called Third Way, which advises Democrats on how they're going to take back the country. They're like, and I love the title of this memo is, "Was it something I said?"
Third Way. Awesome.
And in fact, it was something you said, but it's not actually it. But they have given us a blacklist, if you will. Tom, I'm going to ask you to enlighten us about blacklists.
Oh, you gotta go through it first.
You do. Okay, so here are some words that Third Way is telling Democrats now. We need to stop saying these words on our podcasts, on our social media posts. We need to stop saying words like privilege.
And which I haven't confirmed, but I'm sure the DNC threw them a couple $1 million to do this study, right?
Like yeah. This is.
We need to pay them to figure out.
Make and bank.
Yeah, right. Okay.
We have to change our language. These words. So I loved this. These were some of the words that they categorized as therapy speak. Words that say, "I'm more empathetic than you, and you are callous to hurting other people and hurt other people's feelings." So words like this to avoid privilege, environmental violence, dialoguing, triggering.
No. It said violence and then in quotes, in environmental violence.
Yeah, holding space, safe space. These are therapy words that we need to be avoided. Other words are what they call seminar room language. So stop saying things that make people feel like you're saying, "I'm smarter and more concerned about important issues than you. Your kitchen table concerns are small."
Yep.
Phrases like critical theory, subverting norms, postmodernism, Overton window, which I think I'm guilty of using, heuristic, and it goes on and on. We also have like, don't say things like the unhoused,
body shaming,
chest feeding. I'm glad they're going to
incarcerated people,
cisgender, Latinx, BIPOC, incarceration, involuntary confinement.
Now, one that was interesting to me, a person who immigrated.
Yeah.
As opposed to what? An
immigrant, maybe? You're supposed to not say that anymore. But yeah, so we have this list of words.
Yep.
The problem is, as Tom McCluskey, Tinfoil Tom, has pointed out to us, and I completely agree with him, the problem is that the Democrats are trying, so they're going at it the wrong way. The problem is not the words. The words are bad. I hate the words. They're easy to make fun of. They're easy to mock. So yeah, maybe they should like watch their language. The problem isn't the words. It's that they actually believe what the words signify. Like they actually believe that we are a society with endemic microaggressions and that we are systemically racist. That's the problem, Democrats. That's why you're falling flat.
it's almost better than what you just said there. It's that
Do it.
the
Make it
Democrats
better,
sat down
Tom.
and they're like, we're at a 19% approval rate. We're somehow
And tanking.
coming up to a midterm while we're out of power, which means we should be doing really good right now, somehow doing worse than the Trump administration.
Yeah.
So instead of sitting down and saying, is it our policies? Is it potentially
Is it
what
our
we're putting
ideas?
forward as
Yeah.
solutions? Our ideas are bad? That cannot possibly be the case. Let's spend a couple $100 million or a couple $1 million or whatever it ended up being to a third way to a nonprofit for them to really dig into this.
For them to pull a Cracker
it's not
Barrel.
the ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's not
It's
no,
the branding.
no. And I want to make this clear to you, third way. It's not our ideas. Clearly, that can't be the reason. It has to be the words that we use. So could you just give us a list of words to blacklist, which is hysterical that someone used the word blacklist for words that you shouldn't use. And then they just went on and named a bunch of hilarious words that like there's so many layers of cooked that they can't even realize. Like they're like, It can't possibly be this. It has to be the words. They come back with the words and then they realize, okay, we just can't speak. Like this is an average Kamala Harris speech.
Yes, this
And
is all the words.
she is the torchbearer for our party right now.
Yeah.
Like this is seriously, all of these words have popped up in a Kamala Harris speech.
Oh my
So it's almost even better than what you described. It's like, no, it can't possibly be us, right? So we gotta go.
It can't be us.
All right,
It's
well,
them.
Erica, I hate to one up you one, but might be
It's all right,
Twilight Zone of
Tom.
the year.
Mansplain it to me.
Might be Twilight Zone of the year. I'm sitting
Yeah.
on right now. I've been laughing
Okay,
about this all
I'm
morning.
excited. Bring it on.
So, the protests have been
Yeah.
elderly
No king.
and white lately.
Elderly
Hate
and
to
white.
say, I'm just going to call it for what it is. This is what I'm
And
noticing. A lot of these
heavily
protests are
female or gay.
heavily
Yep.
female. Okay.
Yep.
I submit to you the final boss of signs. Okay. If we can zoom
Oh,
in a little
zoom
bit.
in on that, baby. You got to read this for the audio.
All right. Dang it. I can't zoom in on it.
All right, just context while you're zooming. This
Yep.
is outside of Winsome. Is it Winsome Sears?
I'm actually I'm gonna hold what this is for because it almost
okay.
makes it better.
Okay.
So the sign just reads, is at a protest for a school board meeting. Hey, Winsome, if trans can't share your bathroom, then blacks can't share my water fountain. And it is being held up by what looks to be an elderly white woman.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to read that again. Hey, Winsome, if trans can't share your bathroom, then blacks can't share my water fountain. Now, there's a couple elements to this.
Okay.
Winsome is black, that just adds a whole nother layer to this. This woman was very proud of the sign. She realized at one point she was starting to go viral, and she was made aware of her virality at one point. So here I have it.
Negative.
I'm sorry.
If you couldn't hear her, she said, "Is it good?" And he says, "Negative."
Yeah, I said this is getting a lot of play online right now. Is it good? Nope, negative. And she just gives like a classic like shrug.
Whatever. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Oh my gosh.
What was this over? Now this
Okay.
really just makes us all
Maybe this makes it better.
tie in a bow. So this man, if you want
Oh,
to take a look
gosh.
at what he looks like,
He looks like The
used.
Walking Dead.
Okay, so when a mother of a 9-year-old girl attending swim lessons at Arlington Public School's high school pool complained about a naked man loitering in the locker room, school district staff said there was nothing they could do because he claimed he was a woman. Again, this guy. What is this? U.S. Department of Education investigated Arlington and 4 other Northern Virginia school districts. The Office of Civil Rights concluded that their policies allowing self-identification in sex-segregated spaces violates Title IX. Arlington refuses to comply with Title IX and risks losing federal funding. District leaders and activists will claim victim status. They're wrong. The women and girls who were told they had to share a locker room with this repeat sex offender,
Oh my gosh.
Are
Who is
victims.
naked?
who was naked in a girl's bathroom in which
The
9-year-old girls were.
9-year-old. Oh my god.
And then they were told they couldn't do anything.
So that's what this woman's protesting with.
That
her.
is what this woman is protesting.
racist
She
sign.
showed up and she is protesting.
So if the sex convicted rapist who claims he's a woman can't go into the bathroom with the 9-year-old girl who's there for swim lessons, then she thinks black people shouldn't drink at white water fountains.
I don't know what she
Is that-
possibly was thinking.
Am I overthinking this? I think I'm overthinking this.
That's truly the wildest sign I've ever seen out in public. I mean, I don't
understand. What? Yeah. I'm kind of speechless, Tom. I think you hit it. Twilight Zone of the year.
That might be Twilight Zone of the year. I've never seen. And it of course is just blowing up, mega
Technology
viral.
does not hold, lady.
We need 1,000% tariffs on sign materials. For I don't like what. How does one even get to reach? You know, this is the time. Maybe you don't have grandkids, unfortunately. Like this is the time you should be enjoying your life.
Comparing black people to the sex offenders?
No, she thinks she's making some bold stance.
I know
like,
she does. I know. I have relatives who do this, but
right. But like, guys, like you should be with your grandkids. Like you should be. Why are you riled up at making insane signs that I feel bad for this woman in a way.
Yeah.
Like
if that's the purpose of her life right now.
Is making signs like I can't. I truly was rendered speechless.
We need prayer and fasting. Prayer and fasting is the only answer. Oh my goodness.
No, I don't know. I don't know what the Christian spin. Like, where are we at in if you don't remain a Christian country? Should we tell George and Alexi about sharing restrooms? The concept of restrooms would probably be pretty cool to them.
Yeah.
In terms of running, like
just
running
having
water and electricity.
in general.
Yeah. I mean, like, oh, this is great. Like, what are you doing with it?
Yeah.
We're letting men and women.
Yeah.
What? Oh man. Oh,
wow. God. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, man. I don't know what to say. Sorry, Arlington. Arlington's had a tough week.
Arlington has had a bad week. Yeah. I'm not really sure. Sorry, any Catholics who are there. I know it's a like thriving Catholic diocese. I guess maybe the church thrives under persecution because that is some special stuff going on.
Yeah, and I think it's really an injustice that Josh was not here to give his thoughts on this sign.
Yeah, it might have been better for his soul.
Yeah, he's probably posted up in Poland. Borderline, one could argue a Christian country, but you know, that's
probably eating his kielbasa.
I'm going to hop off the Larry P, give him a hard time train because I love Larry P, but yeah, that wasn't it. Okay. So how about the show? Check out our sponsors, Nazareth Organics and Home Title Lock. Thank you guys for sponsoring. Leave us reviews, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Oh, hope people haven't clicked off when they heard me say that because we got a new deep for you and man.
Let
me look it up.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, the new deep is
so good.
Chilling, but really slick. I mean, the video editing on this Simon Michael was amazing.
Edits by Simon.
And yeah, it's something that everyone should be totally aware of, though. So,
so
get a stiff drink, sit down, watch the deep. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. I want to watch the
designer
intro.
Babies, except they're not actually designer babies. That is a false advertising.
This one was a heater. All right, I'll play the first minute.
And new reproductive technologies, it is now possible for prospective parents to create multiple embryos, test them for a multitude of genetic disorders and even IQ, and select their optimal child before they're even pregnant. Silicon Valley tech CEOs are pushing this technology, claiming to give parents the power to protect their future children and give them the best lives possible. One such CEO was recently asked some hard questions about her company's product, and the vision she laid out for the future of childbearing is shocking. We already live in a world where sex and making babies have been, if I can borrow a marital metaphor, divorced. She says it very clearly.
Sex is for fun, orchid, and embryo screening is for babies. It's
yes,
actually
I didn't want to quote that to you because I thought it was so ridiculous. But go on.
I actually don't.
Shout out to the boy Ross.
Ross is like hitting his stride.
Someone had a great quote tweet on Ross. I can't remember who it was. It's just like Ross is doing the Lord's work by just asking like basic intuitive questions to complete psychopaths, and it's complete magic. Like, yeah, basically that's what he's doing. He's asking very like, I have a family and I'm a normal dude questions to like the most insane people from Silicon Valley, and it's awesome.
The Peter Thiel interview was crazy too. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I keep using Ross in the deep because he is going where no man has gone before. So
you gotta start giving Ross some checks.
Seriously,
he's gonna need to. Yeah, he's gonna need to get a cut. His man. Yeah, go check out. Here, I'll do this. Go check out Interesting Times. Ross Douthat, one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
So yeah, but after you watch the deep, all of the deep, go through all of the deep
That's
episodes
right.
before
Watch all
you
the
go over
deep
to interesting
first,
times.
and then go watch Russ.
Yeah. All right, gang. Good Friday. Hey, prayer and fasting today. So reminder, fast from something today. Pray today. I'll end with our daily prayer. It's a dedication to Mary, Mother of God by St. Augustine. Very appropriate. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. O Mary, Mother of God and our Mother, we offer ourselves to your loving care. Today, we choose you as our mother, guide, and friend. May we always be faithful to you and desire, say, and do only what is pleasing to you. O most tender and loving Mother, we beg you, through the goodness of our Lord Jesus Christ, your divine Son, to keep us especially dear to you and to obtain for us the strength to lead a holy life, a life of goodness, purity, and love, offered to God in thanksgiving and praise. Be present with us at all times, O Blessed Virgin Mary, and especially at the hour of our death. Then, Mary, protect us from the evil one, the enemy of our souls. Guide us safely into the presence of Jesus, the risen Lord, so that we may, with you and all the saints, share his life, happiness, and love forever. St. Thomas More, St. Fidelis, Our Lady of Guadalupe, pray for us.
Pray for us.
Have a great weekend, guys. We'll be ready. Actually, we're going to be live with Kelsey.